Well, hello, Viva Birdos. Jason Hill here with another edition of the VEB podcast. And we've got some very special guests with us today. Joining us from New Jersey before he heads out to spring training is Gordon Graceffo, minor league starting pitcher prospect with newly named to the Baseball America Top 100. So we'll have some things to talk about that. And then also minor league expert from our site, Blake Newberry, and from over on Birds on the Black doing his Dirty 50, Kyle Reis as well. Should be fun having all of you guys together. But let's not beat around the bush. Let's just jump right into it. Gordon, if you will, introduce yourselves to Cardinals fans. They know your name. They know your rankings and a little bit about what you might become down the road, but what do you throw? What's your approach on the mound? What are you trying to do out there?
Yeah, four-seam fastball, changeup, slider, curveball. My mindset out there is just attack the hitters. I'm looking to get after every single guy that gets in the box and not really play around with anything, just kind of go right at them.
Gordon, has that always been your plan of attack, those four pitches? How has your arsenal developed over starting from your time beginning at Villanova and moving into your time entering the 2023 Major League season?
Yeah, when I came to Nova, I didn't really have the velo that I had now, so it was more just kind of a command thing. Like it was spot up and try to beat guys with stuff. Now it's I can kind of get to I can overpower guys. But in college, I worked a ton on my changeup, and that became a big thing for me. And I think that'll really help down the line. But this past year, I worked a lot on the slider and the curveball, just refining those. And going into this offseason, I feel like I'm in a really good spot.
You mentioned. I'm sorry. Go on. I'm sorry, Jason.
Yeah. What's your primary off speed? Like that first off speed that you're going to get whiffs?
It depends on the situation, depends on the hitter, but I'd probably say changeup. I feel like I can throw the changeup whenever I want.
Yeah. Great. Kyle.
I was just gonna say, that 2020 season with COVID, you get a couple weeks into the season and then it shuts down. What was the emphasis during COVID?
Yeah, we started out as a team really, really well during COVID, and I had some personal success as well. And I kind of it was tough, that shutdown, because we felt like we were in a really good spot. But I went home to my pitching coach from around here. And we actually made a lot of mechanical changes, which is kind of weird because I was pitching well. But we cleaned up a lot of things. That's when the whole step back thing behind the rubber started. And everything took off from there.
So I'm not going to say, I don't know if I really mean it this way, but the big story for you coming into this 2022 season, and maybe it was just a big story in my mind, because it's the one that resonated with me, was this quote velocity increase that you've experienced since you were drafted. I looked at a draft report today, and these things can vary. And I don't know if Blake and Kyle, you've got some thoughts on this, but draft reports had you as a low to mid 90s fastball kind of guy.
Yeah.
And this year we saw you occasionally touching 100, probably sitting in the mid 90s. At Springfield. First of all, how did that happen? And just, if you want to, just walk through that whole process. What was it that you developed that led to that, and who all was involved in that?
Yeah, well, I think it started with which is my off-season weight training program. I've been going to the Annex Sports Performance Center down here in Chatham since last off-season. And they've worked miracles pretty much. Like, I didn't really think that I had much really to gain. I thought I could just maybe get a little stronger and maybe move a little better, but I didn't really think it would attribute to what ended up happening. But I've gotten better in every facet of my off the field training. Speed, agility, moving better, stronger. I've gained weight just because of them. And I owe my trainer Damon Akins and the gym owner Mickey Bruckner a ton of credit for that, and I owe them a lot just for the work they've done on me and any other athlete that's walked in there. But aside from the physical gains and moving better and becoming stronger, cleaned up my mechanics a little bit. When I came when I got drafted by the Cardinals, I had a little bit of like a sinker, and then cleaning up my mechanics last year, I kind of started getting that four seam like rising fastball that we see is popular now. I think that attributed to a lot of like a velocity jump too, just more efficient fastball.
So
You
I
still
think
throw? Go ahead, Blake. I was
I think
gonna.
a lot of
Yeah.
times when people hear about a velocity increase, they immediately jump to the fastball. But how have you seen that velocity increase help your other pitch, like your slider and your changeup and your curveball?
Yeah, my sliders definitely had a jump too because I think that that's probably the next closest pitch to my fastball velocity wise. But yeah, I mean just ending up getting stronger and moving better, things like that. You're gonna see a jump in your other pitches just because you're stronger and you can move better. But I mean, it's tough to kind of once you get feel those muscle gains and stuff, you have to keep up with that mobility and that flexibility, and that's the tough part. And just being able to do that just helps all those other pitches.
I had asked you at winter warm up. You were talking about your kind of where you were at. You felt like you were in a really good spot, just like you're talking now, and about if you had said something like you feel like you're close to being able to hit everything when you want to hit it.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me just in a little bit, not a little bit, the entire season's worth of watching you last year, because it's a long season that you deal with, and every minor league pitcher deals with fatigue at some point during the year. I think what impressed me the most in watching you is how you fight through those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another thing I talk about a lot with you is that bulldog mentality, the energy you pitch with on the mound. I think it's an important part of your game, and asked you about it at winter warm-up, and if you could just get into that a little bit. I think that it's a fascinating mentality that you have, and I think it's the kind of thing that fans love. So just talk about how you attack, how you demonstrate yourself on the mound, and how that kind of guides your pitching technique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I kind of pride myself on being able to pitch late in the season and deep in the game, stuff like that. And I mean, the best availability or the best abilities availability, and I kind of pride myself on that this season. Just being able to make every start. But yeah, well, I mean, when I'm on the mound, I'm coming for that hitter. Like that's my mentality. Like I'm not going to hold back. I'm coming for every single guy that steps in that box, and that doesn't change regardless of who's there. Like it's the same mentality. Like a lot of people, once the big league camp stuff came out, and people around here at home or anybody that really knows me is like, oh, so you'll be facing like the big league hitters in spring training. Like we go play the Yankees in Tampa, we go play the Orioles or the Tigers, like any team. And you see Judge step into the box. Like the mentality there doesn't change. Like and the hitter's the enemy. Like you're going after the hitter. And I mean, I love this game and I'm passionate about it. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. And I mean, it shows when I'm out there, I think. And I mean, this game's supposed to be fun, and it's fun to get fired up. It's fun to fire up your teammates, and I like that stuff.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I love how you said we. Are you already assuming that you're going to make the major league roster? I think that's a safe assumption for you, man. I think you're good.
I mean, you can't really assume anything in this game just because anything can happen, especially with the org. You never know what they're thinking. But I obviously the goal is to go out in spring training and try to make the team. But I mean, we have so much talent and on the big league roster and in the minors that you never know what's going to happen. And wherever they want to send me, I'm good with it. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to pitch the same way regardless, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. So let's talk about Springfield, because I mean, honestly, like your stats, I'll try to post some of them as we go through. If not, they'll definitely hit the article on Viva Birdos, so you guys can go and find those there if you're listening. But you cruise through the low minors, A ball, A plus. You hit triple or double A Springfield, a much tougher environment to pitch in. You kind of faced your first challenge, as a professional. What was that like, especially as a bulldog kind of pitcher? What was that like? What carried you through? What was that experience for you like?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a big jump, but I mean, you're gonna have to fail at some point. And I think it was good that it happened there and that I was able to show that I can bounce back late in the season. Because I mean, in this organization, the only thing that really matters is September and playoff baseball. Like the organization wants to see that you can pitch in late in the season and will be effective in the playoffs, because once the playoffs start, that's their season. I mean, they want to win a World Series every year, and it's rare that you're with an organization that has that opportunity to win a World Series every year. So I was glad that I was able to bounce back in September and pitch well. But yeah, I mean, August was rough. It's you kind of go through these phases where you're looking at your numbers. You don't really know if you should change something, or like something's not working. And I mean, what helped with me was just talking to guys that had been in the org longer than I have, and just hearing them talk about failure. And I mean, it goes back to your preparation. If you're preparing for every start and every opportunity, and you're working hard and working each day to get better, there's nothing really you need to change. It's just a mindset thing. You just have to come back from failure as if it's the next day. You just wipe it. So that was big for me, just learning kind of that part of the game and that part of the season. But I mean, I was glad that it happened, and I'm glad I was able to come back from it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you came back stronger?
Yeah, I mean, that September I felt great. I probably felt better that month, those 3 weeks, than I did any part of the season. I think everything kind of like fell into place. I feel like I had all 4 pitches working those last 3 starts, and it was a good way to go into the offseason confident.
You talk about this organization and the stigma that kind of comes with the Cardinals, the culture that they create. It's all about September.
Mm-hmm.
As the Cardinals start bringing you in, as you start feeling the draft hype, as you start seeing your name and you start understanding you're going to get drafted, when did you feel like the Cardinals were going to be the team that drafted you? And just kind of walk us through that whole experience, not just with the Cardinals, but with other teams, and starting to get a little hype and on your name
Mm-hmm.
at Villanova. And just walk through that experience. I find myself fascinated by the collegiate draft experience.
I would say it probably got serious around like winter break my junior year. I think I was throwing at home, and a lot of scouts reached out asking when I was throwing live and stuff like that. So they would kind of come down for those things. And I mean, that's when you have a lot of Zoom meetings with scouts and conversations. And it kind of just all works up to the draft. But during the season's weird. I mean, they kind of leave you alone, and they kind of just talk with your agency or whoever's representing you. And you just kind of go out and do your thing. Like, I never really knew how many people were there watching me at any one point, or who was coming to what game or where. And you kind of just go out there and take care of business. But I knew that the Cardinals were were on me pretty heavily most of the time. Like, they one of the teams that were most in on me. And I mean, I'm glad that it happened. But draft day is hectic. Like, I think I said yes to 8 different teams in the 5th round on draft day, and the Cardinals just happened to be the ones that picked me, which I'm glad happened.
Well, yeah.
Now you say that you knew the Cardinals were in on you, and you felt like they were holding you strong. Like, I know for a fact that you were there for the warm up, the workout that they do. They bring a bunch of the players that they're interested in drafting.
Mm-hmm.
They'll bring to Busch Stadium and work out. Can you kind of talk about that experience? Because that's behind a veil a little bit, and they
Mm-hmm.
talk about it a little bit here and there. But just kind of talk about what that was like, some of the people you were around, and what that was for you.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience. I mean, it's kind of nerve-wracking. You walk into Busch with like 50 other guys, and you're kind of measuring yourself up again, like the other guys there, and you're like, where are these kids from? Who are they? What are the Cardinals telling them? But I mean, I was talking with some of the guys there and got pretty close with them, and because I mean, you're all going through the same thing, and you're all trying to get drafted. And if it's not the Cardinals, it is what it is. But I mean, it was cool. I got to meet Tim Levesque there before eventually seeing him down in Florida. He's the pitching coordinator in the minors, and some of the higher level scouts. A lot of the front office was there. But I think I threw the worst bullpen of my life at that pre-draft workout. Like, it was brutal. We got in the pen. And it was the first time I'd ever thrown with a Major League Baseball, and going from an NCAA ball to a Major League ball, it's a world of difference. And they had the TrackMan set up behind the catcher probably like 8 feet off the ground. And my first pitch, I threw a fastball off the face of the track man because the ball just slipped out of my hand. And I was like, wow. I was like, thank God there's 29 other teams because there's no chance they want me after this. It was bad.
That's great.
Were you trying to juice it up a little bit?
Yeah, the adrenaline's definitely flowing, but I mean, after that, I think I was trying to put everything in the zone. Nothing was moving as it should, and I mean, I was happy to just get out of there.
Yeah.
I've got to ask: was McGreevy there at that same thing, or did you kind of connect with him later?
No, I connected with him once we were both down in the hotel in Palm Beach. He wasn't there, but there were actually a lot of guys the Cardinals ended up picking or signing there. I know Mac Chambers was there. Ludus was there. I think Noah Menlinger was there. Osvaldo Tovalin. Like they picked a lot of guys from that workout. So it was pretty cool to have like everyone there at once.
Did the
Blake,
Cardinals
you
say
got anything?
anything to you after your workout?
What was that?
Did the Cardinals say anything to you after your workout, either like immediately after or after they picked you? Joking about it or anything?
They didn't say anything at the workout, but I know I've talked to Tim about that bullpen multiple times after the fact, and he was like, "Yeah, I kind of walked away after a couple pitches." But I didn't really think. I mean, until they called on draft day, I didn't hear from him.
Well, I heard some chatter recently, and this was just sort of speculation, so I'm not trying to start anything or throw anything into your mind. That your fastest route to the majors could be through the bullpen. Do you have a preference between starting and relieving?
No, not in the big leagues. I mean, I just wanna get there and stay there, and whatever way there is for that, I'll do it. But I think long term, the organization and myself included see me as a starter. But I will do anything the organization wants.
Yeah.
I just want to be in the big leagues.
I was gonna say I have a preference. I don't know if my opinion counts or not, but I'd love to see you stay in that rotation as long as possible. Blake, Kyle, you got some more before we jump into the rest of the questions?
Yeah. I know that one of the things at Springfield, other than dealing with some, fatigue, the normal deal of a whole season, what has been like the mechanical adjustments that you've found yourself making? I know that you talked about it during COVID, working on your windup, but have there been any small mechanical adjustments that you've made to maybe make sure all your pitches are coming from the same spot, or anything like that you're keyed in on a little bit more now, trying to get a little bit more of an advantage over hitters?
It was more so pitch design stuff. It wasn't really anything with my mechanics. It was more like grips and how I was releasing certain things. Like with the slider, sometimes I would release it more like a fastball, where my fingers would come behind it instead of kind of over on top of it or around it, and it would kind of turn into a cutter, which is not what I wanted. So I kind of worked on stuff like that. I worked on the curveball grip a lot, and it made that pitch a lot better. Um, yeah, it wasn't. They didn't really try to mess with me anything mechanically, and I know a lot of people were saying that they would because they wouldn't like the step back when I was in college. But I mean, I kind of just rolled with it, and I was gonna roll with it until someone told me otherwise. And now I think we're all good.
Do you,
So
I mean, other than the velocity gains of the fastball, do you feel like that is an out pitch, a pitch to contact pitch? The fastball in general, I find fascinating because it is everything all at once from my vantage point. I think it's everything all at once. Is that how you view it, or is it something different?
I would say it depends on the count. I mean, if it's 0-2, 1-2, 2-2 even, I think it could be an out pitch. If I'm behind and I throw a fastball, I mean the Cardinals they focus a lot on throwing to spots based on if you're throwing a sinker, if you're throwing a rising fastball. But if you hit that spot 2-0, 1-0, I mean it can be a ground ball contact pitch too. Like it really depends on the count, but I see it as both, yeah.
I love that. I love hearing the theory behind it. And I think that one of the things that impresses me is that seems to be, you can work backwards if you need to work backwards. And you're getting more comfortable. We can see it in game of using your repertoire in every count how you need to use it. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of funny because like when I'm home, you're throwing to different catchers whenever you can find somebody, and they'll come up to you after you're done throwing and stuff and be like, "All right, what do you do here? Like, what do you throw? What is this?" And I'm like, "Well, like I'll throw any pitch in any count." And they're like, "Okay, but what do you like 2 strikes?" And I'm like, "Well, it depends on how I'm feeling and what feels good that day and like all this other stuff." And it's different than like maybe someone they're used to catching. They have one out pitch, a pitch that they like to get ahead with, and something they throw behind in the count. I will kind of throw anything whenever, and it makes it. I feel like that helps me a lot as a pitcher.
So can I just throw a statistic into this, because that's kind of what I bring to the table is statistics. And this is really, I mean, Gordon, I know you're going to know that. I know the rest of the guys listening here will know this, but for those that are watching and listening at home, your walk rate as a, let me see, how old, 21-year-old, first year professional, your walk rate was 7.8%. Extremely good. Then you get to high A, 2.4%. That's a rate that even Miles Mikolas would be jealous of. And then while you were, somewhat struggling, facing some harder competition, age 22 in Double A, your walk rate was 6.3%. If someone hadn't told me that you were a power pitcher, I would say that you're a command and control pitcher.
Yeah, I kind of always prided myself on throwing strikes, and I mean that was instilled in me at a really young age. My high school coach, one of his biggest mantras is just throw strikes. The hitters will get themselves out, and I've kind of lived by that ever since then. And I mean, I didn't really have that velocity power pitcher type stuff until really last year, and I think it's I think it's harder to teach kids to throw strikes than it is to teach velocity because you can always get bigger, you can always get stronger, you can always move better. But I mean, throwing strikes is a skill. And I pride myself on that.
Yeah.
So as you've talked about throwing strikes and being comfortable throwing any pitch in any situation, and specifically about your changeup, is that something you like to focus to opposite-handed batters like a lot of pitchers do, or is that something you're comfortable throwing to both righties and lefties?
Yeah, one thing that I worked on a lot in college was not only the grip, it was just kind of throwing it whenever I could. And my pitching coach in college, Jabin Weaver, who helped me so much throughout the years there, he was like, just throw it. It's a good pitch. Why wouldn't you throw it to everybody? Like, there's this stigma surrounding a changeup where righties throw it to lefty hitters and lefties throw it to righty hitters. But if it's a good pitch and you can throw it for a strike or put it wherever you want it, why not just throw it to everybody? So I enjoy throwing it to lefties and righties. I probably throw it to lefties a little bit more just because it's a better pitch for to throw to them. But righties definitely don't expect it.
What's the communication like for you? What you do individually away from the Cardinals and what the Cardinals work on with you? I guess a better way of putting it might be, how much work are you doing on your own and how much of that is guided by the Cardinals as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my lifting program in the off season is totally from my strength trainer, Damian Akins, and he comes up with that just based on different guys he's trained in the past, things that I need to improve on, things that he thinks will make me better in the long run. And then my throwing program is kind of hand in hand with the Cardinals. Like they know what I'm doing at all points, and but that's also from Damien. He comes up with that whole process based on like I gave him my entire schedule once I got home, when I had to be going back, when I wanted to be throwing live by, when I wanted to throw bullpens by. So he came up with that whole program. But throughout the whole process, the Cardinals know exactly the lifts I'm doing, and they know the throwing I'm doing. And I think that I mean I have to give them a ton of credit because I mean for their trust in me. It's definitely hard to let guys go home and kind of just do their own thing because you don't really know exactly what they're doing. But yeah, I mean they trust me, and the stuff I've been doing here has worked out.
Have you worked at all with Dusty Blake, the new pitching coach?
I haven't, but I've heard great things about him. I actually train with a kid here that Jack Carey, who He went to St. Peter's Prep. He's on the went to Duke's on the Pirates now. He had Dusty as his college pitching coach at Duke, and he loved him. And me and him are really good friends, so I'm hoping that I love him too. I've heard some really good things.
Good.
You mentioned your relationship with Michael McGreevy. Jason touched on that a little bit. I'm fascinated by that. I love the fact that you guys work off each other. You were starter after starter throughout the entire year. Kind of get into that relationship a little bit, how you guys feed off of each other. But also, you mentioned that you've talked to guys who have been in the organization for a while. Who are some of the other internal players within the Cardinals that have had an impact on you, or at least been a sounding board for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me and McGreevy have been through this entire process every step of the way together. I mean, we obviously got drafted together. We started practicing together once we were down in Jupiter, and then we were in Palm Beach together. Got moved to Peoria together, and then obviously Springfield. But yeah, I mean, it's been great. One, competing with him, and two, working off of him, and kind of hearing him talk about what he's doing to hitters and stuff like that. Because I mean, he's an incredibly smart pitcher, and a guy that I can definitely learn from. And it's nice to hear him talk about how he approaches the game versus how I approach the game, and how we can take things from each other and build on it. But yeah, I mean, one thing that I started doing in AA more that I hadn't really done was talk to hitters and just kind of see their sides of things. So like guys like Mike Antico, Chase Pinder, Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn, like guys that are obviously very, very talented, but they think about they know hitting so well, and they know what guys are thinking and just what works against hitters of that caliber and things like that. And then, I mean, guys like Kyle Leahy, Tyler Pike, John Beller, guys that have been there longer than me, that know what's going on in the org. They kind of know how to approach things, how to approach the season. Guys like Griffin Roberts. I mean, like, just learning from guys like that have been around the block, and they've been in this org a while, and they've had success, and they've had downfalls, and just how they come back from stuff like that. It's awesome.
What do you think of John Beller's mustache?
It was awesome. I don't know why he shaved it.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, I was living with him throughout the whole thing, and Twitter blowing up about his mustache and stuff. And it was awesome. Like it was insane to hear him talk about it, and insane just all the people talking about it on Twitter. And then he struggled for a little bit and shaved it. And it happens. I get it. Baseball players are superstitious, and it happens. He felt like he needed to change, but I think it'll be back.
Got to stick with what works, right?
Definitely.
I mean, sticking with that whole experience there at Springfield, such a unique combination of talented players. I don't know about how much you know about it, but we've had a tendency to kind of look at Cardinals minor league promotions sort of in eras. And you've got the whole David Freese, John Jay, era, and then now we've got this couple eras that have come since. Do you guys how tight are all of you guys? Do you have a nickname for yourselves? What was it like to be part of that group of AA? Let's just go ahead and say it, superstars.
It was awesome to be part of that team. It was like, watching Jordan and Mason every day was incredible. Like, you never knew what was going to happen that day, because they were just going to do something insane. But obviously they're unbelievable. But the more unheralded guys like Antico, Chase Pinder, like Pedro Pajes, like guys that just kind of go about their business, kind of fly under the radar a little bit, but like are still incredibly talented and will be big leaguers one day. It's like that whole team was unreal, and it was sick to be a part of.
Did you ever match up against Antico in college?
Yeah. I pitched against him my freshman year when he was at St. John's. Yeah.
Did he steal a base on you?
I think he did.
I bet he did.
I forget exactly what happened when I faced him, but I do think I remember him stealing a base, which would make sense.
Yeah.
We're hoping to have Mike on here soon.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think we might be able to book him up here in a couple of weeks. So before he gets to Jupiter too. So Is he going? I'm assuming he's going to Jupiter, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, surely he would. Yeah, he absolutely would.
yeah, he might be already down there, but yeah, I think he would definitely be open to talking to you guys. But yeah, he's the man. He's
Yeah.
fellow Jersey guy, fellow Big East guy. So I mean, we are definitely comparable in that, right?
Are there any other players in the organization that you've gone up against prior to being a member of the organization? I know it's kind of a tough, broad question. Antico was the only one that came to my mind.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's weird. We get a lot of guys from like the same region. Like, there's a ton of West Coast guys, there's a ton of East Coast guys, but I think Antico's the only one.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised that he stole a base off of you because you do a pretty good job of limiting the running game.
Yeah, he's just a freak of nature.
Yeah.
So when are you heading to Jupiter?
I'm leaving this Sunday, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Good.
Yeah, I can't wait to be down there.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to be down there with all the guys, and it's warm, so
Yeah.
that's big too.
Right.
What kind of temperature you got there?
It's like 20 right now.
Terrible here too.
Woke up this morning, it's a little snowy, but yeah, it sucks, but I'm looking forward to be down there.
What's the plan when you get down there?
So I'll be down there about a week and a half before we have like a definite schedule, but I think reports the 15th.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's just gonna be getting acclimated, kind of going into the facility. Like, they'll probably tell us the time to come in. Just getting my work in, like my own structured lift, and then just throwing. But it'll be nice to be in front of everyone that's already down there and just be with all the guys.
Awesome.
Yeah. Blake, do you have any other questions?
No, I think he answered them.
Yeah. Kyle, got anything else?
No, just great job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Well, we do wish you the best of luck, and we're going to be excited to just watch you this spring, see what happens, see everything that shakes out, and yeah, I mean it's exciting to have you on, and I don't know, those of you that are listening, you can't see our faces, but we're excited to get the opportunity to watch you, and I personally, I mean, I just wrote an article today on Chris Carpenter, and not that this has anything to do with you, but that combination of fastball with velocity and a slider with movement, and then the most important thing, command and control, because that's the same thing Flair did. When he came up, he didn't have a super dominant fastball, but he could throw balls where he wanted to throw.
Mhm.
And then that led him to becoming what he was. So I'm not putting a type on you. I'm not making a comp. I'm not doing anything silly like that. Listeners, don't go there. But that's why prospects and scouts are so excited about what you have to offer, is that you've got the whole package. You don't walk guys, you can strike guys out, you can get whiffs, you can throw strikes, the velocity is there, it's all there. And I don't know, it's really exciting to see. So thanks again for coming on, Kyle. The D50, man, where are you at in that process?
Who knows, man? I don't know what's going on in there.
Well, check that out on Birds on the Black. It's good stuff. I think you're probably somewhere in the 30s, maybe still the lower 40s.
Honestly, truth be told, on a daily release thing, we're in the mid 30s. But I'm up to. Speaking of Mike Antico, I think he was the second to last most recent one I posted on Birds on the Black. I have him as right in the 20 area. But there's more posted at Birds on the Black than we've been unveiling on Twitter. So go mess around there if you feel so inclined to read just some of the worst, most poorly written write-ups in the history of the world.
That's not true. They're some of the best. They're fun.
Disaster.
Blake, what are you working on for Sunday?
I'm working on an article with about Zach Thompson.
Okay.
See what next steps for him, what he can do. He had a really good Andre Palante. Sorry, I already wrote the Zach Thompson one, but Palante, he had a really good start. So I'm excited to see where he goes this year.
Yeah, good.
Well, before we end this, Gordon, last year the darling of spring training ended up being Andre Palante.
Mm-hmm.
There's a connection here.
That's what you want, right? That's what you're going for. You want to be that guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be that guy that kind of comes out of nowhere per se and makes a team. But I mean, whatever happens.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Well, for all of us at Viva Birdos and Birds on the Black, Kyle, Gordon, we're so glad you could be on, and thanks for joining us. And we wish you all the best, and we'll be cheering you on from St. Louis and all the other very places we will be. So thanks for coming on. And from everyone here to you, have a very happy day. We'll see you when we see you. Thanks.